All right. First of all, I would say we just recorded the show with Aaron from Wrestling with Wooldridge. Thanks for doing that, Aaron. That was an absolute blast. As always, I made a fool of myself. I'm crying by the end of the episode, but hey, I think that's a sign of a good thing, right? With laughter.
Usually a good thing, Graham, yes.
That's always a good episode when you do that, that's for sure. All right. I kind of alluded to something earlier in the week. I said, "Oh, I'm sure I have something to talk about in the pre-show," but we didn't talk. Normally, we talk before we record, and we didn't get a chance to this week. So I think you know what happened to me this week, Matt, but I'm not sure everybody else did because I don't think I really posted about it. So I did talk to Dan and Rob about like last week, like on the Friday, I had symptoms of a sore throat, so I took the day off, and then by Saturday, I took my allergy medicine, not Dayquil, Nyquil, and I was good. Told my principal, hey, I'm going to return to school on Monday, no problems at all. Returned to school on Monday, and then when I got home, it was like, hey, you need to fill out this form. I was like, okay, filled out the form. And the form was a little weird in the fact that basically I had to admit that I had COVID, even though I didn't have COVID. And he was like, oh, no, it's just a theoretical question. I was like, oh, okay, fine. As soon as I sent this form off, I got a message straight away. Hey, you need to text us. You need to text your name, number, school you're at, etc., etc. No problem. Did that. And then kind of went to bed. Woke up the next morning. And it was like, you're out of school for 7 days. I was like, oh my gosh. Unless there was like a whole list of things. I kind of got the impression they thought I had COVID, I had a positive COVID test or anything. So anyway, so I'd already had family and friends who'd mentioned how difficult it was to get a COVID test, and I talked about that last week as well. It is really difficult. So what I did was I actually turned up at the Patient First is one of our places we can go to. It's that doctor's that's 40 minutes away, and it's $40 copay. But I was like, sure, I'll get there. I got there 5 minutes before it opened, and there was already like 5 people ahead of me. I checked in, and they have one good thing: you can check in and wait in the car, and then they'll call your phone when they want you to. So I was like, well, that's a good.
That's really good.
Yeah, I was like, well, that's a. I was like, so I can't. Like, I didn't think I had COVID, but you can never be 100% sure. And since the Friday, I could have also come into contact with somebody who didn't know that they had COVID and then picked up COVID from them. So, not that I really put myself in that situation, except for being around, obviously, my close family, but you never 100% know. So I was like,
I mean, you could have been asymptomatic for COVID, but having hay fever symptoms instead.
And that's true as well. So we didn't know. So anyway, I did that. Yeah, the people who I knew took 4 hours to get there. So I was like, oh, good gracious. Anyway, so I was in. They tested me for strep. They tested me for COVID. They both came back negative in under an hour. So I was done by 9 o'clock. I came home. I called the office of benefits, and said, hey, what do I need to do to get back to school? And they're just like, send us a picture of the COVID test, and you're good to go. So I did. I was back in school by 10 o'clock, but it was a little bit stressful. My pulse was high, my blood pressure was high, but I'm like, yeah, because I was kind of stressed.
I've seen you angry, sir. So, and in case you're wondering where I saw him angry.
Well, I'm in a WrestleMania. I know you've told us before.
Yeah, I'm going to say it again. When you slammed your hand on the table because you didn't take the right turning for McDonald's.
I was sick of McDonald's at that point as well.
If it was that bad, we could have had a Wendy's, but no.
I thought we did go to a Wendy's.
No, we didn't go to a Wendy's. The whole point we were meant to because we were meant to go and do the whole Braun Strowman breakfast challenge, but we didn't do one because you didn't want to stop.
Huh? What are you talking about?
There was none in the area. You said there was none in New Jersey.
Oh, there wasn't. No, there wasn't actually. No, you're right. It was a good idea, but no, it didn't physically. Yeah, we'd kind of once you get further north, there's less and less Waffle Houses. That was the problem, and we were already in Delaware at that point, I think. So no, we'd already passed them, and we had to get to a show as well, so we didn't have time really to go back and then go back up again. So actually, the other thing was I remember the other thing. The hotel actually had a free breakfast, so it would have been kind of pointless to turn down a free. Well, for me to turn down a free breakfast when you can, and then
for the record, it is what you would call in the UK a continental breakfast.
That place was actually one of the better breakfasts, so that shows you what you've been to. What hotels that you've been to. Right. That was a much better one than some of the others.
In 3 weeks today, I'm going to be at EGX, and the hotel has got a all-you-can-eat, and that is an offer. Not a challenge, Alex, if you listen to this later on. Or you can eat breakfast, and you can have the continental and the main breakfast as well. So you get 5 breakfasts, and they bring it to your table.
That's in England. The standards are like if I go to England, even at a cheap bed and breakfast, you get a full English breakfast. Like
No,
you're getting
no,
your
no, no,
sausages,
no,
bacon,
no.
egg, toast, beans, sometimes even black pudding, mushrooms.
Actually,
Like
you're wrong, Graham. You're
you could.
wrong.
Oh,
You're
you used
wrong.
to. Am
Because
I aging myself even more than I
no,
should?
no, I'm just saying most do, but not all of them do. Because 2 years ago, when me, Chris, and Alex went to EGX that time, we stayed. We booked a hotel late, and it was a really dodgy 2-star. And it was at the other end of Green Street in West Ham, which is over a mile and a half from the nearest tube stop. It functioned as somewhere to keep your head dry. Basically, it was one stop up from the bus shelter. In hindsight, you wanted breakfast the next day. They would make you toast and beans
That's terrible.
and a fried egg maybe.
Uh-huh.
But Chris doesn't eat eggs or beans.
Here's a piece of bread, Chris.
So
Bread.
they did cook him some bacon,
Uh-huh.
but they don't eat bacon for religious reasons. But they did cook him some, but you had to ask for it. Yeah, we are not going ever again. And I would say to anyone who wanted to stay at that hotel, avoid.
Like I've been to ones where they've advertised in America, they've advertised breakfast, and then when you get there in the morning, it's basically a tray of somebody's literally been to Krispy Kreme and they open up the box of donuts and that's it. And I'm like, oh,
that would have been better than what we got in that hotel.
like I've just never been a donut person for breakfast. Like it just doesn't fit with me. Like that's like a big treat. Like teachers go, hey, we're bringing donuts in the morning. I'm like, I'm not interested in a donut in the morning.
It depends on what time of morning, Graham.
Breakfast time.
Breakfast time. No, 11 is fine, but
11 says would be fine, but yeah, like 7 o'clock. As soon as I wake up in the morning, I don't want a dessert for breakfast.
oh, no, yeah, there's sundries, and then there's sundries, Graham, and Bundries, and Tuesdays, and Wednesdays.
Yeah, sure.
That's a Tom Baker joke.
So yeah, I'm hoping that you're going to be sensible then when you get to that eat all you can. Like you said, it's not a challenge because I know you're halfway through your challenge right now. I couldn't believe that when I looked at the date. I'm like, oh my god, time's flying by.
Yes, obviously today it's the 16th ad recording, and today's steps. There we go, people. There we go. Today's steps.
Nice. Yep, 11,572.
Indeed, my average. It's apparently on average this year's step count is lower than last year's, but on average my steps are 5,000 more than last month's. No kidding.
Oh yeah, obviously, yeah.
No kidding. Yeah. So on average it's 13,000 a day. But obviously I had that 20,000 day, which is kind of increasing. But obviously I've always gone above 11,000 for the last 16 days, and it's killing me.
I had to break my streak last Friday when I was quarantining without knowing until I could get my COVID test.
Oh God!
I took that. Like I could have gone out, I guess, with a mask on, but I was like, I'm just gonna stay at home. We'll see what happens. So I didn't get. I think I only had like 250 steps that day.
You've got a garden. You've got a staircase.
It's not the same. Oh, God, can you imagine the neighbours? Oh, look, he's walking up. What the hell is he doing next door? No, I'm not like Colonel Tom or whatever it was. I can't. Captain Tom, I apologise.
He can do it, Graham.
I know, but he was slower because he was like 100 years old. It's a little different. So I was like, what's more important at this stage? Like, if I have COVID, then it's more important that I just stay quarantined at this point. So I took one day off. So unfortunately, my streak kind of got broken. But I did do that one day. I did send you that picture. I got 30,000 steps in one day. So my average is way over 11,000 for the month, but I just haven't managed to do it each time. So hey,
I'm still very proud of all the support you've given me, and for everyone else out there who has. Amazing that I'm at £202. It's amazing. High five, Tom. Sent me over last week, so thank you so much for that, and to yourself, Graham, for the support you've given me. Alex, Kerry.
Before I forget, and I didn't write it down in my notes, but I meant to, and it just passed my mind.
Okay.
So we didn't talk about it on last week's episode because you weren't here. But talking about money, you did predict that Sting would be the champion by All Out, I believe, right? And actually, I've just realised there might be a member of the Brainbuster Boys who might want to mention this as well to you as well. So I believe that you owe me $10, but what I'm going to suggest is, on my behalf, I would like you to donate that $10 also to the prostate challenge.
That works for me, Graham. I did actually, just for record, I never said which All Out. But at the same time, I fully know I meant this year's All Out. So I will happily donate the $10 to Prostate Cancer UK.
Oh, is it dollars?
It was dollars, Graham, yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that'll be slightly.
I will happily donate $10 on your behalf. And I dare say that I'm not sure if it was Brett or Beaumont, but guys, if you're happy for me to do that, I'll happily do it on your behalf as well.
We can certainly ask them to. But I thought about that as I was walking the other day. I was like, oh, that's a no-brainer. That's a total no-brainer.
Happy to do that, Graham. Happy to do that. I should drop that in at the end of the month.
Now, I got confused for a second. Living in America now and being used to dollars, and when I think of pounds, I think of weight. When you said you were at 202 pounds, I was like, holy crap, he's lost a lot of weight this week.
Graham.
I was like, geez, he's going to be at Finn Balor's weight. And I was like, oh, you're being dumb. He's talking about how much censorship he has, not his weight.
First of all, Graham, to go back to one of the largest group of crackers, I once thought that Finn Balor weighed 225 pounds. So let's not go there like that yet.
You thought higher than that, didn't you? Didn't you say it could have been like 240, if I remember?
Anyway.
And then it started getting lower, and the lowest you got was 225, which was...
Anyway, I give my left leg, Graham, to weigh 202 pounds. In fact, my left leg may weigh 202 pounds, Graham. That's an old trope and joke, Graham.
My brain did not comprehend. It was a little slow on the comprehend. I was like, oh, okay.
That's fair enough.
I'm still continuing a mild decline in weight. Not as quick as I did the first month, but I'm still losing weight steadily. I've had to use an extra little notch on the belt now as well, so it's worth doing. It's definitely worth doing. I feel much better for doing it, that's for sure. I did not like doing it. I think it was last night where I posted to you. I was doing it in the dark. I just didn't get any steps at all for whatever reason. I'm not quite sure why. So I was out there for over an hour walking in the dark just to make sure I got to that 11,000.
It is better doing it in the daytime. It just feels better doing it in the daytime.
I'm already at 11,000 because I played 3 rounds of disc golf this morning, so I'm good for the day.
3 rounds, so that you did 18, 36, 54 holes?
54. It wasn't intended to be that many. I went out with Mason and we played, and I don't probably haven't told you this story because I know you're not really that interested in disc golf. But we played our 18, and there's somebody who's on the course who's kind of responsible for the course. He's in his 80s. I believe he's 85 years old, and you always see him on the disc golf course. In the mornings, it's kind of quiet, and as we came around, we kind of caught him up because obviously he's a little bit slower at that age. And he said, oh, can I join you? And I was like, absolutely. This guy is a world champion at disc golf for his age group. So whenever we get the chance to play with him, it's always like kind of exciting to play with. He beats us every time, but it's really good he has some interesting stories.
The look on your face right now, Graham, by the way, you're so happy. Like a little.
I was. He said, oh, can I come and join you? And we're like, absolutely, Carlos, come and join us, please. And he got to talk, and I'd forgotten to ask him. Mason asked him, he's like, so didn't you play in the World Championships recently? And he told us about that, how he won $700. He came second. But he said for next year, he can't play right now. This is ridiculous. Why? His age group that he plays in right now is 80 to 85. That's the oldest age group they go up to. So next year, he's 86. There is no age group for that. I was like, why wouldn't you just have 80s and above? Isn't that, to me, that's ridiculous.
If you're able to do it, let them do it, is what I'd say.
Absolutely.
I've got a question, though, Graham. All these, and I'm going to say this without meaning to sound disrespectful or anything like that. You go to these indie shows and you get these 8x10s and you get these autographs and you get these selfies and all these things. You didn't get an autographed disc?
We didn't. He actually appeared also, and we didn't really know him very well at this time, but going back probably about a year ago, he actually appeared in Mason's Disc Golf magazine because he was the winner at the World Championships that year. So, because we were like, oh, there's Carlos. So yeah, like I played with him a few times over the summer. Well, after we'd finished, I played 1 round with Mason. we played about 7 holes together, and then we played the last 11 holes with Carlos. And then he asked us, he's like, "Are you staying for another round?" And I had Mason with me, so I was like, well, I wanted to, but I was like, Mason, do you want to? And Mason's like, oh, absolutely. Mason wouldn't normally play a 3. So we played a 3rd round. But yeah, so I got my steps in that way. But thoroughly entertaining guy to talk to. So yeah, I got my steps in a fun way today. It's much happier when I'm throwing a disc and getting steps in for sure.
Well, I can't argue that one, Graham. Right, can I talk a little bit more about my night out last week?
Please do.
Because there's a little bit on the main show, but I figured I'd entice you with it now. Now, obviously, I'm not going to go into great detail about everything, but I wanted to highlight a few things. One of which is an amazing intergender match. There was only one lady on this card, that was Lunatrix, and she was phenomenal. And she was up against the Hunter Nero. That's 2 E's. And I actually got what I actually was. It was just a real thing, because obviously I've been doing these shows with you, Graham, but I've never hung around afterwards to get an interview with somebody or just see what happens after a show. But I saw that everyone got in the ring, and one, they showed the actual promoter how to take a bump, which was kind of fun. So he actually did the whole fall backwards thing and take a bump. That was kind of fun. But they also broke the ring down and everything, and they were all doing that. They were all involved in that. Even the champ was happily doing that. He's like,
good.
I'm not above this sort of thing. That really made me happy. But it also I got a chance to talk to Alex Kent, and I got to talk to Jackson Arrow, and I've actually got a short interview, Graham, which maybe you can tack on to the end of Good Cop, Bad Cop this week.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. Yep. I'll send that across to you, and you can just trim when needed for that one.
Yep.
It's not long, maybe about 4 minutes, but we'll put it at the end after Jackson giving the outro, maybe.
Cool.
So that's really cool. But I've got to talk to Nero about Luna. About how phenomenal she was, because most of his card comes from the Isle of Wight. You're also in ground.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. In fact, Jackson Arrow is a multi-time OPW champion, Outcast Pro Wrestling, they're called, on the Isle of Wight. And he's the current OPW champion, Jackson. And so he's also won half the tag champions there as well. So that's really, really good, really, really cool. Well, Luna debuted, her first match ever was against Nero. So they've got really good chemistry over the years working together. And it was when Alyssa Dawn was pulled from a match for reasons I won't talk about here, Graham. I'll tell you off air. Okay. The obvious replacement was Nero. Mm-hmm. And worked so well together. So well. It was a privilege to be a part of this event. And yeah, ringside the best place to be, even if I had to pay £4 for a beer.
That's Well, you must remember at WrestleMania, you can't get a beer for £4. I'm telling you.
I remember getting a cider, a bag of crisps, and a pack of Skittles, and it cost me $10 and $1 tip.
But only a 50-cent tip.
No, $1, Graham. It was 10%.
Oh, apologies.
It was 10%. My tipping has got much better. Unfortunately, I got into my head that $1 was your tip, unfortunately.
If you order a single drink, you would normally tip $1, but then that's normally because a beer is going to be $7 or $8. So it just kind of works out that way. Yeah, that wasn't an indie show, so they tend to be much better value. But yeah, if you go to the stadiums, the markup's ridiculous.
I remember when we went to WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Yeah, yep. I remember MetLife, yeah.
And
O2 Arena is the same here, Graham. Absolutely ridiculous. It was £10 for a beer here in the O2.
That was a unique thing last week, actually. Drinking beer on the podcast. I don't think I've ever done that before.
I often drink a beer because of you on the podcast.
But that was fun. That was because that's just such a big part of their show that there was no way I was not incorporating that. Like, that's the first thing they talk about before they talk about the wrestling. Rob and Dan talk about what beer they had. But yeah, when I went to the cupboard to find out what Mel had in, I was like, oh my gosh! I was like, that's terrible. That was not what I was. She misunderstood. She thought I said, do we have any craft beers? And I said Virginia. She just missed the word Virginia, so it was, hey, it's fine. It wasn't that big of a deal.
So what beer did you have in then?
Oh, I can't remember. It was like it sounded like a Mexican beer. It was like a San Quentin or something. I can't remember. I don't
Ooh,
remember exactly.
Mexican beer, lovely.
It was something like that. I kind of like Dos Equis. I'll have that if we're
Because
sometimes. I'm not a big drinker, but
obviously last week, as I said last week on the pre-show, I'm obviously at the Chapel Beer Festival last week. It was
yeah.
fantastic, and I've got a lot of time for craft beer and cider. Love a cider. But yeah, I'm actually going to do a bit of plugging, Graham, if that's right, before we
Yeah,
wrap
go
up.
ahead.
And the plugging is, well, it's for myself, because it always is. This past week on Techers, Graham was jumped into the chat, of course. I had to do a live stream solo, which I've never done for a whatever before. I want to do it at some point for Game Junkies, but I'm nowhere near ready for it yet. Unfortunately, schedule just didn't line up. Normally it'd be me and Mag, but Mag's on vacation this week, so that's why. That's why I didn't have.
Working.
Tanner was working. Dan and you and Rob were both unavailable, and they both would have loved to have done it. Conrad was available. Chris BFC was not available either. It was absolutely ridiculous, but at the same time, the chat kept me going and the stats kept flowing, and because of that, we got through it all with a fantastic 3-2 win as well. Even better. There is no takers jinx, Graham.
And I was very cynical when that second goal went in for Milan. I was like, "That's it, I'm done. They're just going to shut up shop, and that'll be the end of the game." And I'm never been happier to be proven wrong.
Exactly. In Jurgen, we trust. I had a point. Also, on that note, next Wednesday, I am taking part in my first Matter Chat in nearly 18 months. I am sitting down with a very, very, very amazing lady. I am sitting down with someone we have talked about on this show, Graham.
Oh.
And that woman, Graham, is Sharon Corella.
Okay.
Do you know who she is?
The name sounds familiar, but I can't place the name right now.
That is the good lady of Mr. Simon Powell.
Oh, that's right. The author.
I am sitting down with her to have a chat about her writing, chat about all sorts of things, not least her weird fixation with Adam Cole. So there'll be some wrestling talk, but it's going to be a case of whatever flows will flow. Simon's apparently given her some pointers. I'm like, she's a pro, she'll be fine. It's all good. So yeah, it's going to be recorded next week. Not sure where it's coming out. Will it be coming out on VGM or on Techers? Maybe both.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, when it comes out, we'll be promoting here. Go listen, because this is a semi-serious interview for me.
It'll start that way.
It'll start that way, then it'll descend into why Finn Balor is better than Adam Cole's. For sure.
I'm sure it will. Anything else? We're about at half hour.
We're about half hour, and I think anything else from you, Graham?
I had a couple of things, but nothing important. I think this is a perfectly good time to stop. Not least because I've heard that it's raining outside, and our cat, I believe, is on the deck. I'm not sure if Mason's let her in, so she could be. There is an umbrella out on the back, but it might be time to go rescue her.
I've got this image of Jesse, just holding an umbrella at the door. So seriously, let me in.
I didn't realize it was supposed to rain this afternoon. It was lovely earlier, so I was like, "Yeah, you want to go outside?" I was like, "Go outside," and I was like, "I'm recording." I was like, "It'll still be fine by the time we get back." But I just suddenly heard it's torrential rain out there, so
Mason's in the doghouse again.
I can hear hanging around upstairs, so I'm hoping that she. Well, it's possible she even came in before, but I don't know. All right, let's leave it at that then.
We're back next week, guys. Check out the main show on Sunday on VGM. We're out of here.
Oh, One final thing. I forgot.
Oh.
I totally goofed on one thing. This will be short, though. The match that we sponsored on Visionaries Global Media, Lady Frost and Mason, I thought it was live on IWTV. That was wrong. It will be out on Saturday. So if you're listening to this, then obviously it'll be too soon. But by the time our this episode drops properly on podcast form, it will be available on IWTV. Combat Fights Unlimited is what you're looking for.
So CFU on IWTV. Check it out on this Saturday. Anything else?
That'll do it. Boom.
We're out of here.